Welcome back, persistent hikers, to glimpses of our California parks. Today we will visit the Central Coast region of our California parks, encompassing 55 of over 400 diverse public, state, and federal parks and their related unit located within our Golden State. As with all Channel Island visits, we were ferried across the channel by the official National Park Service concessionaire, Island Packers. Every trip we've taken with these folks has been a positive experience. They've made the statement, "Getting there is half the fun," one of the main reasons Channel Islands became my favorite national park in California. The catamaran boats they use to ferry us to the distant islands offer an enjoyable ride, even in the sometimes rough channel. The safety of the passengers, along with an enjoyable experience, seems the packers' top priority. So don't get upset if they cancel a trip because of bad weather or other factors out of their control. If you call them a day or two before your island departure, they can give you a good idea about what to expect. There's nothing like riding the bow with the salty air blowing in your face, your hat trying to take flight, one hand holding your camera while the other one holding tight the railing, searching for marine mammals surfacing close to your boat. We drop off some day hikers at Santa Cruz Island. This will give the rest of us a chance to view the other side of Santa Cruz Island, a side we couldn't observe when visiting the island on our day visit. A quick drop-off and we were gone. As we round the eastern tip of Santa Cruz, heading westward, we get a distant view of Anacapa Island off our port bow. A friendly dolphin appears off the bow. Now traveling along the western side of Santa Cruz, we captured some nice coastal images as the sky began to clear. As we continue up the Santa Cruz Channel, we pass Gull Island, but aren't close enough to observe any wildlife. Enjoying the remaining trip on the starboard side. Traveling westward, we get our first views of Santa Rosa Island, the eastern side, situated halfway between Santa Cruz and San Miguel Islands. We begin witnessing the eroded sandstone cliffs and beach area. Finally, we reach the Beecher's Bay Pier, our arrival point. It's important to point out that your time on the island is limited here to just a couple hours, so you want to depart the boat as soon as possible. If delayed, you could get hung up behind the campers while they unload their supplies. Once on the dock, we headed for the historic 1855 Santa Rosa Cattle Ranch, the last working ranch on Channel Islands. We cross over the beach and by the flower-covered cliffs to reach the National Park sign. Although the ranch looked interesting, we simply didn't have enough time to explore it. A lot of the farm's original wooden fencing and equipment still exists near the farmhouse, barn, and equipment sheds close to the Beecher Bay Pier. Due to our limited time on the island, we left the ranch area to begin our hike along the coastal trail. This trail overlooks the beach and bluff area, eventually leading to the camping area. The ocean wind blew the cool April air across the island, but the warm sun made for a pleasant visit. Don't forget to take layered clothing as there's no island concessionaires selling sweaters and windbreakers to poorly prepared visitors. Once on the trail, we took note of the wind-blown shrubs and trees along the path, along with the many spring flowers in bloom. The best part of this trail was the beach and ocean overlooks, where we could see the clear waters below, watch the endless waves lap the shores, and hear the seabirds above. So much to experience with so little time. Take it from me, the 2 hours we had to explore went by fast, so keep a close watch on how far you wander from the pier, or you might be last seen waving goodbye to the departing boat. The Channel Islands were created by tectonic uplift and faulting, rising and falling sea levels, landslides, erosion, deposition, floods, and droughts. The Santa Rosa landscape includes coastal plains formed on marine terraces, sand dunes, sand sheets, and geological diverse beaches, eroding from exposure to wind, rain, and the constant waves of the Pacific Ocean. This narrow eastern beach area at Beecher's Bay is one of the largest on the Channel Islands, where most are generally smaller and confined to areas protected from wave erosion, such as coves, bays, or inlets. Santa Rosa Island is a 53,000-acre, 15-mile long by 10-mile wide island found inside the Santa Barbara Channel, one of 5 that make up the Channel Islands National Park, a water-only accessible park maintained by the National Park System. Located within 30 miles of the California mainland, off Santa Barbara, this park unit was established in 1980 to protect the Channel Island and submerged land shelf for 1 nautical mile offshore. A sanctuary area extending for 6 nautical miles was also established to protect the diverse marine life surrounding each island. However, it wasn't until December 1986 that the island came under the protection of the National Park Service, following the departure of the last island farmers. Santa Rosa is the second largest of the Channel Islands. It contains sandy beaches, grassland, steep canyon, and a few groves of trees to include the rare Torrey pines. Known as Wema by the Chumash Indians, the original native inhabitants, Santa Rosa's human history stretches back at least 13,000 years. A local archaeologist discovered a human femur sticking out of a canyon wall on Santa Rosa. Radiocarbon dating and bone protein analysis verified the remains as an ancient Paleo-Indian who lived on the island some 13,000 years ago. About 500 plant species can be found on Santa Rosa, within 9 plant communities, including 6 species found nowhere else in the world. The Santa Rosa Island subspecies of the Torrey pine is considered one of the rarest pines in the world, the last enduring member of a once widespread Pleistocene forest. Santa Rosa Island hosts over 100 bird species, 3 mammal species, the island spotted skunk, the island fox, and the island deer mouse. 2 amphibian species, 3 reptilian species, and vast colonies of seabirds, numerous seals, and sea lions. Probably the most interesting inhabitant that ever existed during the Channel Islands' long prehistoric history was the pygmy mammoth. Found nowhere else on Earth, remains of this Pleistocene creature have been found on 3 of the 5 islands: Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, and San Miguel. These miniature mammoths stood only 4 to 6 feet tall and roamed the island's grasslands and forests. The fossil skeleton discovered here on Santa Rosa Island in 1994 is the most complete specimen ever found. With short fur, a large head, and a typical mammoth body, they were a product of natural selection, a smaller version of the Colombian mammoth, which lived on the mainland before migrating over to the once super island known today as Santa Rosa. Over 200,000 years ago, the ocean was about 400 foot lower than it is today, which gave the mainland woolly mammoth a window to travel towards a remote island. The island was only 6 miles from the mainland at its closest distance. The scent of abundant island vegetation drew a few of the larger Colombian mammoths to make the journey. In time, the ice melted and the sea rose, trapping them on the island. Once we returned back to the trail beginning near the wooden National Park sign, we continued down to the wooden pier and the beach access. Even along the steps down to the beach, flowers continued to reach out and touch us. Be aware, persistent hikers, although these steps are well made, there's a 14-run fixed vertical ladder you must climb down to reach the beach. It's also your only way back up. Know your limits. Once there, you will enjoy close-up views of the sandstone cliffs and layers upon layers of ancient rock. There, you'll find hidden coves, tide pool areas, collapsed cliff sections, unusual alien-looking plants, and beach areas composed of both sand and rock, just to name a few of the diverse features I witnessed while there. Water-sculptured sandstone cliffs have always held my interest, especially knowing that you're observing millions of years of a changing geological landscape. Volcanic lastic rocks formed during the Eocene to Miocene age, along with a conglomerate of sandstone, siltstone, and marine shale, were all found exposed along the cliffs of Santa Rosa. In which sediment layer were the pygmy mammoths roaming this island? In which sediment layer were the first humans walking the plains of Santa Rosa? Although I'm sure there are many great trails on Santa Rosa that would lead one to island wonders, the clock was ticking down on our day visit, so I decided to concentrate my remaining exploration to this remote beach area. While on the beach, I got to walk amongst an exposed tide pool area close to the overhead pier. Didn't find many marine animals, but found lots of diverse aquatic plant species growing amongst the rocky shore. It's always fun to explore such a natural area, but we hikers must tread carefully as not to step on any fragile life forms or disturb their habitat. After all, this little insignificant area to us is their home. They live here, and we weren't invited. I've always enjoyed observing the tranquil back and forth movement of the aquatic plant life as they sway from side to side, following the gentle waves lapping amongst their rocky, low tide habitat. Watching this gentle movement makes one realize our planet also has a heartbeat. We humans must not only recognize it, we must respect it. Here's another advisory from the persistent hiker for those with mobility issues. Watch yourself while stepping on these slick rocks. Not only are they slippery, they're hazardous to your health. Their jagged and rough surfaces will make for a very hard landing should you slip and fall. You've got to stay healthy for our next adventure. Our boat was still anchored in Beecher's Bay, so I knew I had a few more minutes to enjoy the beach. The Beecher's Bay cliffs, mosaic patterns, and shapes were never ending. As I continued up the beach, I noted eroded rock sections carved out by the relentless action of ocean waves, wind, and rain. Just before turning around, I came across this open, eroded section in the sandstone bedrock, where the island's ancient rainfall had eroded a narrow passageway towards the ocean, cutting through the ancient rock, forming this now dry sandstone canyon for us to explore. This was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. Up above the steep canyon wall, we observed one of Santa Rosa's native plant life species, the giant Coreopsis, a woody perennial plant native to southern and Baja California. Observing them from this angle and in this harsh setting, they look like some alien species featured inside a Star Wars movie. Traveling back out the ancient ravine, we take note of the overhead cliffside sandstone formations, sculptured by Mother Nature's erosive forces. A patchwork of smooth, uneven shapes formed when grains of sand were compacted and cemented together over millions of years ago, buried and then again exposed, slowly being eroded by the natural forces now surrounding them: wind, rain, and ocean waves. I wish to acknowledge my usage of the informative park guides and brochures, along with the on-site park rangers and docents who helped me gather information needed for this Glimpses presentation. I turn to Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia, and Dictionary.com as my go-to sources for any additional in-depth information I needed. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to catch the latest park units we visited along with special trails we've taken. Farewell, Santa Rosa Island. Hope you enjoyed this park adventure. Take the time to visit our sponsors and become a monthly donor, assisting us in documenting each of our diverse federal and state California parks. By becoming a member of the Persistent Hikers and wearing our Glimpses patch, you are informing the young generation that we seniors still have the capability, although limited, to enjoy our parks just as much as they can. Until our next California park adventure, happy trails.